Hey, I finally finished writing my short film script. What's up, it's a culture detective here investigating your favorite movies, and today I'm going to be doing a movie review on Eureka, which is a 3.5 hour long Japanese art house film in black and white, or more like brown and white. So yesterday I watched Eureka in the cinema. Not only is this the longest movie I've ever watched, this is also the longest movie I've ever watched in a cinema, which is really ballsy of me. I didn't pee at all, I didn't eat any food at all, I just watched the movie on a big screen like a real cinephile. This movie is also written and directed by Aoyama Shinji, and this is pretty much kind of a one-hit wonder for him. All his other films are not very well known, not very critically acclaimed either. So Eureka literally came out of nowhere. I found out about this movie, I think around a year or maybe a year and a half ago on Letterboxd, and it was just a really high-rated Japanese film that apparently nobody has seen. Like it only has around maybe 8K or 9K views by the time I found out about this film. So I was really curious. And here comes HKAFF, Hong Kong Asian Film Festival, which is a film festival that is still going right now. And in this film festival, I have purchased 4 movie tickets to watch 4 films. Of course, we have G Affairs that I just watched last week, Kirie, which is a new film from Iwai Shinji, and simultaneously we have a Spotlight actor, an actor under the Spotlight series, and that actor is none other than the legendary Yakusho Koji. So films like Cure and Shall We Dance are also screened in this film festival, and one of the films screened is Eureka, and this is pretty much my only chance in the entire world to watch this movie, because you can't find this movie on any streaming platforms, on any other websites, if you know what I mean. This movie is I'm sure this movie is released on Blu-ray and DVD somewhere, but they're all really obscure and out of print, and definitely not an American print. So this is extremely rare. It's extremely difficult to find a movie like this, let alone a screening of a movie like this. So I have to watch it. So I watched it, and man, all the people, all the freaking audience members yesterday when we watched the film, we're all warriors. We're all true cinephiles, because nobody in their right minds can sit through a 3.5 hour long art house Japanese film in black and white unless you're a hardcore cinephile like me. So here we go. Here we freaking go. This is even longer than Seven Samurai. Before this movie, my longest movie ever is Seven Samurai. This movie knocked Seven Samurai out of the park. And another thing to note is that, holy shit, the year 2000 is probably the greatest year in cinematic history, aside from 97 and 85. But seriously, the year 2000 has blessed us with Yi, In the Mood for Love, Ritual, As I Was Moving Ahead, Devils on the Doorstep, Battle Royale, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Requiem for a Dream, Dancers in the Dark, Memento, American Psycho, and so much more. And on top of that, Radiohead released Kid A, my favorite album ever. So obviously the turn of the millennia is honestly the greatest year of the arts, especially for Asian arts, as it seems. And Eureka turns out to be one of the greatest. We have a film about a town, or more like just 3 characters. Yakusho Koji, the bus driver, and a pair of siblings, a brother and a sister, who have survived a bus jacking, a hijack in a bus. And this film is very much about their recovery from that, and grief, and survivor's guilt, and trying to move on, and things like that. And wow, I don't think there is any other film I've seen that explores grief this well. I mean, when it comes to slow Japanese films about grief, I can name a couple that had also deeply affected me, or at least impressed me, like Kore Eda's Maboroshi no Hikari, which is a great film about grief. It didn't hit me that hard, but nonetheless, it has the visual beauty. And then there's Hamaguchi's Drive My Car, which I think is honestly in the same tier as Eureka when it comes to exploring grief and also the mysterious quality of human nature. I think Murakami's work very much explores that very well. So when I was watching Eureka, I was thinking to myself, this is basically like Drive My Car. This is kind of like Drive My Car, but I think Eureka hits harder because Drive My Car isn't exactly about grief. It's also about the human nature and just how complicated human beings are. But Eureka is purely about grief. There's nothing even beautiful or fancy or poetic. No, there is nothing. It is very pure and very, very dense of a film. It's very big of a film. And you can tell by how this movie is filmed in black and white film, but it is in sepia tone, which, if I can recall correctly from my black and white photography class that I took last semester, sepia tone is a sort of a solution you can dip your film print onto in order to make the skin color feel, instead of white, actually feel a little bit closer to skin color. But this way the blacks also turn brown. And that's exactly what this film looks, and it's really interesting to see a black and white film that is actually brown and white. So that's actually really cool. I think the cinematography and the use of framing is also really good. Apparently this is the same DP as Tampopo, so that's pretty interesting. And the performances are great. Yakusho Koji is amazing. I'm so glad he won Best Actor in Cannes earlier this year. And the child performances are amazing. I don't know why, but it's always with Japanese child actors that just are amazing. I don't know why, but like, nobody knows has amazing child performances. And then now Eureka has amazing child performances. I think this is the first film I've ever watched where the length justifies the story. A lot of long movies have the story justify its length because it's such a huge film, like Lord of the Rings, or I don't know, even films like Yi Yi. It's long, but I don't mind it because it has a lot of story. But this is the first movie where, if this was shorter, if this was like a couple hours long, and it's the same story, I probably wouldn't like it as much. I like it simply because it's that long. And Aoyama Shinji manages to show us that, hey, this isn't about the story. It is about how long the story is. The story can keep going and going and going and going. These characters can literally keep going and going and going and going for 4 hours, 5 hours, but that's kind of the point because recovery from grief is a never-ending process. And this film also depicts the town that these characters grow up in as empty and bland and full of nothing, which I think is done very well and successful because we keep seeing the same locations again and again. We keep seeing the same characters again and again. This movie knows what boredom is. And so these survivors with survivor's guilt, they have grief, they have pain, they're in pain. It's like they're gonna cry, but they can't cry because they don't know how to express this pain. They just so desperately need to get out. So for the last hour of this film, we see the three characters plus another guy go on a field trip, go on a trip on an RV, and it is liberating, but also not. Even so, it's not like their grief just magically disappears. Even at the end of the film, the grief is still there, but you can tell that they are moving on, or at least they're trying to move on. Now, this film didn't completely crush me, which I sort of hoped it would, but it's also something that I'm comfortable giving a 10 to, just because of its gargantuan size and how just bold and dense and just ambitious it is, in a sense. So yeah, it's a 10 out of 10. So have you watched Eureka? Comments below, let me know. Subscribe if you want more. Thanks for watching. Strong 9 to a 10, somewhere in between, I guess.